so that they can actually get into the realm of Yang. As if you aren't scaled and if you fought early and died, it could be very risky going into the mid game as a Transformer team composition. But we're going to be heading right into the action, ladies and gentlemen. JDG up against Alliance. Alliance looking like they're getting the short end of the stick here. One member has already been taken down. PP's down for the count. Kiki's trying to do something. He's gone into that ice block in the middle of 3 players, stalling for a decent amount of time. But the turnaround from Kiki, taking down one, almost another, now in a 1v1 situation. Well, he was in a 1v1, but he's looking to chase Ian here, or Lane. He's trying to chase him down, using that F to go sky high. He almost has his ultimate up. If he manages to stall for just a little bit longer, he's going to be able to get it, and he's going to be able to either engage or disengage. He gets one with the knockback, but the wall, no! He goes just a tiny bit too far forwards and gets caught by the sand wall. So unfortunate. That was so unfortunate for him. He was so close to clutching it up. Bo here now on his lonesome in the 1v3. Manages to get that ultimate off, thankfully, buying himself a little bit of time and getting a little bit of that health back. But they are on the chase, and that timer on the ultimate is ticking down. But it looks as though he might have snapped some ankles from JL. VVV, he's not in that bush, bro. He's not there. He's already gone.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe he escapes and lives to...
I can't believe it either.
Like, absolutely insane. JL too, he was out in the open, they had vision on him, they just didn't see where he was. He breaks the ankles, he gets away. Absolutely insane. Turning over here to XCG, it looks like they were just in a fight with maybe GG here. It looks like they were able to pick up all 3 of the eliminations there onto GG early. As we cut over to JL here, still on the hunt after coming in and trying to clean up that fight and not getting any of the eliminations. They just, of course, let our boy go. We haven't caught on over and taken a look yet at JJH. We're to see KLA topside here using the ballistas to solve puzzle. I like this. This is a personal strategy that I use. You keep your team double on the ballistas topside to cover. You have one person go down below to give you the puzzle answer, and it just makes it so easy to cover this entire area if you have control of it and really lock in. KLA is gonna go ahead and get the box here for themselves. Let's take a peek inside and see what they find here. They're not going to show us, unfortunately. I would love to see it, but I'm not sure.
Oh, it was a gold greatsword.
Golden greatsword. This is probably, they're probably going to take this to a shop and turn it into a pole sword, which in my opinion and your opinion is very, very sad. I know both you and me, great sword enjoyers from back in the day.
Of course, always great sword enjoyer. Pole sword, meh. Just a great sword in disguise, in my opinion. You know, just a great sword hiding. But I mean, the thing is, I've talked to quite a few people about this now. Actually, greatsword kind of feels better to play in a lot of situations now. You know, for a long time after Pole Sword's release, Pole Sword was seen as just the objectively better in all scenarios. You know, it felt better to play for a lot of people. I mean, I personally I never found that. I never truly liked it, to be honest, anywhere near as much as Greatsword from its release, just simply because of the way that it forces you to commit in certain directions when you look for catches. So I'm just gonna just because I'm an enthusiast, I'm gonna quickly explain the differences. So Pole Sword, when you do the sprinting horizontal, it pushes you forwards, which obviously can be very useful. It allows you to chase people down very effectively if they're on the run, if they've turned their back to you especially, it can be very good. However, in neutral, in close range especially, if your opponent is on the ball, he can almost very easily outmaneuver you and force you. If you're smart as well, you're probably not going to look for these horizontals in neutral initially, at least on the light ones, because then it results in those kind of situations where you're just asking to get half charged and get your turn taken back. But then The problem with this situation, though, is that you're then forced to try and hold RMB, but half charging RMB is very dangerous in itself, because the same thing can be done when you throw an RMB. It's very slow, it can be punished very easily, end frames are really long, etc. But with Greatsword, it doesn't force you to commit in a direction, whereas Pulse Sword does. And it's very stationary and it's very defensive, which I feel like is the way that you want the heavy sword to be. But anyway, that's enough of Dunking's rant about heavy swords. We're going to be going back into the action. JJH looking to close in onto Wolves here. Wolves having already committed their Takeda ultimate. I don't think he's got any Furin blasts left to throw out, unfortunately for him. And JJH are hot on their tails. They have the Merciless Havoc doing so much work. This is exactly what we were talking about, the scaling that they needed. Godley trying his best to get out of this sand wall, out of the Tumulk ultimate. They have committed that Yueshan ultimate now to try and counter it, to give themselves that immunity. Godley still on the chase. But this is the kind of terrain where you can lose someone very easily. Although the Yueshan is definitely going to be helpful.
This is not good terrain for JJH to be trying to take this fight, given that they're playing Transformers. This is the worst place you can possibly monk up here. JL also coming in for the third party as well. JJH, though, they had both blue Banes in the back pocket. They had used one earlier to try to collapse onto Wolves, weren't able to find value out of it, and luckily they had the second one here. It buys them out of this bad position and the ability to reset from this third party. The problem is JJH spends both of these Banes, doesn't find a single elimination or another piece of gear to help them scale forward. JL as well, looking at JJH as the weaker victim. They didn't even bother to chase down Wolves. They are looking at the members of JJH, waiting for this Bane to subside so that they can go in and potentially lock down those eliminations, because they know that they have not scaled up enough for that Transformer comp to really be a threat for them. As we cut over to XCG, Kakaishi here taking some shots downrange at TE's Han. Not sure where the rest of TE is. We getting ready to lock in for those first sets of Realm of Yang. GG and 521 looking to lock in on one. Alliance chilling around one as well. We're going to see KLA and EWG nearby, potentially able to stop Alliance from heading in, but it doesn't really look like anybody else heading towards those Realms of Yang. XCG kind of in a situation where they can, but Kakaishi very, very separated right now, all the way out in the zone. I'm not sure what Kakaishi is doing here. You see, he just completely disappeared. He's up in Waterfall somewhere. Not sure what he's doing out in the zone.
Surely there must be a plan, right? You would hope. Regardless, we're going to be going into this fight here where Alliance Bow lives on literally a sliver of HP, just barely staying alive. Alliance Revenge managing to keep him on his feet with that zipping Ying ultimate. But having committed this, that might not be the best situation. However, the Tessa ultimate and the Viper ultimate both did get used, both got forced for this. So in fact, actually, I take it back. They're in a very strong position here. They're looking to close in and take advantage of this advantage that they have. The Wu Chen port, though, is going to take them out of dodge. QGG, or wait, it is QGG, right? I thought it was, I don't know. But he's up and about now. He's gotten rezzed, but it looks as though the Wu Chen might be taking the fall for the sins of the team. KLA are going to lose their Wu Chen. Their Uber driver is going to be taken down, unfortunately. But we're going to be going into the realm of Yang, ladies and gentlemen. You know what it is. JJH on the Transformers. They kind of have to go into the realm of Yang. And they actually have managed to scale reasonably well, considering they have this Merciless Havoc. They don't have that Monk ultimate online just yet. Neither do they have the Yueshan ult. But thankfully, they have the Kurumi ult to keep Flames alive for the moment, just so that he's able to actually build that rage, so he's able to stay alive through all of the damage. The Ferrier ult coming through, doing quite a lot of work, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Godley now forced to use that transformation. Is he going to be able to demech TXJ, though? He gets the punch, doesn't manage to get the demech, though. Looking for that ambitious grab onto VVV, but it doesn't matter. Flames is going to take him down with that Yueshan ultimate. just slamming down TXJ. He does have the Yotoki mail ready to go at a moment's notice, though, so this could all flip on its head. Godley and Flames both went into ultimate at around the same time. Godley is about to come out of his, and here comes the Yotoki mail. TXJ trying to find the opening, looking to go onto the Karumi. That damage reduction might do a little bit, but it's not going to be all that much. He does stay alive, though. The teleport coming through just in time. Just keep him alive, keep him in the game. He manages to find the heal. TXJ trying to find an opening with the fan. Flames getting knocked to the floor. He's so low. One R&B, a clank. Here's another one. TXJ trying to make it happen, but it's not enough, and he's not able to take them down. And JJH find their win condition.
Yeah, JJH needed this desperately, given how poorly their initial investment, right? They bought both early game Banes and found exactly zero value out of either of them besides saving themselves from a third party. They did not have any kind of gear advantage whatsoever, so they needed to win this Realm of Yang to get any sort of advantage going. They were able to get that purple set of armor they desperately wanted. It is on Godly, but now JL outside chasing them down, though JJH has that Vermilion Birds. We've got 4 separate Vermilion Birds going. This is a rare sight. You don't typically see Vermilion Birds coming up during stage 1 in those Moore's Blessings. So for all 4 teams to have it here is very rare indeed. Godly's just trying to keep it moving here. They do not want to feel forced to invest their ultimates here, though a huge parry onto Fang means that they might look to turn this fight on to JL, and this could be huge for JJH. They could find a little bit more scaling going into the late game in terms of elimination. Unfortunately for them, I do believe that JL here, no, JL doesn't have Vermilion Birds. This could be way more massive for them. If they're able to pick up these eliminations, JL here has the gear they need to fully scale in the late game. We're going to see the Monk transformation coming in from Godly. Chu Lee with the ult as well. He's just going to go ahead and end it. He wants to come in, get back up, get that ult online as soon as possible. VVV topside here, trying to buy Fang a little bit of protection, but needs to D-Mech, is going to back away and look to split away from this. I think Fang is going to end up sacrificing themselves for the team here. JJH gonna find a ton of loot, even though it's only 2 eliminations. The loot coming off of these members of Team JL is going to be massive for Team JJH as we get ready to head into the mid to late game.
Absolutely. This is exactly what we were talking about. That's exactly what I was saying, though. If they manage to find those avenues to scale and they actually get to the late game, they actually can do a considerable amount. And in fact, they have advantage in late game. And if they're able to build up their defenses, so to speak, by scaling, making themselves extremely difficult to take down. You know, if a Tianhai and a Yueshan both have gold armor or purple armor, and they have lots of good defensive jades, then they are extremely hard to kill, as their health pool scales depending on the armor that they have equipped. And then not only that, but the damage that they can output if they have a high rarity weapon as well can be massive. You get a double grab with a purple or a gold weapon, you get the slam, you are destroying 2 people. Just 100 to 0 almost, unless they have very good defenses themselves. We're going into a replay real quick here. XCG against JDG. XCG doing extremely well off the rip, but unfortunately, oh no, the Wuchen poured into their demise. They were stood right next to it, and they teleported at the worst possible moment, in the worst possible spot, and unfortunately, they weren't able to survive that onslaught from that. They were doing really well to start it off as well. They were doing well. They had the initial prio. They had the damage. They got the Tessa ultimate off. But then that Yueshan came in, and they all got AoE'd and just obliterated. Unfortunately for them, it is what it is.
Look, I will say it all the time. Wu Chen is by far the highest skill ceiling support in the game, if not one of the highest skill ceiling heroes and trios in general, because he can either be a godsend for a team and do everything right and keep the team alive, or you can ult to a really bad position, or you can ult even though your team's in an advantageous position and cancel 2 of your team's ults and find no value and just get rotated on, right? You have got to be so aware of what's going on at a moment's notice in a fight. You can't panic, and you've got to make the most of your F every single time you use it, both in terms of healing as well as blocking range shots with it to really find value out of Wu Chen. I think he is by far one of the highest skill ceiling characters in the game.
I think so. It kind of does come down to what skill ceiling means and what it means to be skillful. You know, I think a Wu Chen, obviously, I don't think it's necessarily the highest skill ceiling. However, I do think that it's one of the most impactful roles. You know, it's one of the roles and one of the characters that has potentially the highest impact on whether a team lives or dies, succeeds or loses in certain situations. But I'm not sure if I would say it's the highest skill cap. You know, I think, to be honest, certain characters like Karumi come to mind. You know, Karumi, although you might think that her kit... Yeah, like her kit, although it's rather straightforward, you know, the tether, you connect it, you ult, you know, in a circle, yeah, cool. Might not seem all that difficult from a spectator's perspective. However, to actually play Karumi at a very high level and consistently not just get 100 to 0'd and die, you know, and just get caught out of position, you need to have very, very good understandings of just the general idea of what it means to be a support, the ability to predict incoming damage onto yourself and onto your team, to be able to predict where you should be to prevent yourself from being vulnerable to attack. You have to think quite a few steps ahead to be a good Karumi player in a lot of situations, especially in lobbies like this, where you have Vipers, Tessas, all of these players lurking around every corner, trying to find any opportunity to just fully engage and just take you down without you being able to do anything about it. You know,
I will 100%.
But I agree, Wu Chen also has that problem. Wu Chen still has that. But
I think the major difference being is that Wu Chen is reactionary, right? Whereas Karumi, you need to be preventative. You need to be aware who in your team is going to be focused down, where you need to put that damage reduction on the tether. You need to be aware what's the opportune moment to break that tether, to knock people away from your players and things like that. Like you said, you have to predict a lot being a Karumi player, and I will give you that wholeheartedly. I think Karumi is also, I think being a support in general is just...
Support in general is very difficult. I completely agree. Yeah. No, absolutely. But we can continue this discussion later on. We're going back into the action. You know, JDG scrapping it out against Wolves. The Ballista was, I think it was in play. It is very close by. But we also have 5-1 up on the cliff face, just peppering the players below with cannon shots and bow shots. And it looks as though Wolves have taken quite a hit from this whole situation, unfortunately. They are still resable, but they're not resable, really, are they? They're not. There's not much time left, and he's all on his lonesome, and there's so many teams lurking around, ready to jump on him, looking for that final member who hasn't died yet. They probably recognize that there's only 2 bodies here. There must be another person still alive, so they're looking for him, and it's not leaving many openings for EG to actually make it out alive here. He's having to go through the zone. Does he? He does have 2 heals. The problem is, if he comes out and a team spots him, he is going to die. He has no ultimate. He has a lot of grapples, but I don't think that's going to save him in a 1v3.
Yeah, no, I mean, he does manage to get back in the zone here, though, so it's not quite over for Wolves, but this is definitely not the performance they wanted going into Game 3 whatsoever. I'm pretty sure they will qualify for the bi-weekly this week, but given the situation they're in, I think it's going to be off of their performance during day 1, which is very surprising, given that, you know, they had a 74-point day into BBE and OUG, right? Our 2 front runners, and here they are not having to compete against those 2 teams. You would think it would open more space for Wolves to come in and have an even bigger day for themselves, but they find themselves struggling here. You know, Game 2 was much better paced for them. They didn't find as many eliminations as they wanted, but they were in the final circle. They did make a mistake there in the final circle, which was very typical of last year Wolves, so a little surprised to see it happening here with this this year Wolves, given their performance during the first bi-weekly. But yet again, here in Game 3, struggling. So hopefully they can pull it together as we had together in Game 4. Taking a look, KLA here, not the best of Soul Jades for them. They've scaled pretty well in terms of armor and weapons and stuff, but surprising to see KLA mostly on blue Soul Jades. KLA typically spends a lot of money at those Rift dealers rolling for Jade, so they haven't been able to scale in terms of Darktide coins this game the way that they usually do.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where sometimes you just can't find that money. You know, maybe they weren't able to get as much money off of kills. They just haven't managed to find them. It is what it is. Sometimes you can't find that scaling. Although it's an objective, although it's definitely something that you're looking to try and do all the time, it's not always possible. And potentially they choked before. You know, potentially they were running that Darktide coins per second, you know, per 10 seconds, the coins strategy in your glyphs. And perhaps this game, they've decided not to go for it for some reason. The different comps, different setups, that sort of thing. And they weren't able to find the money to actually go for those Soul Jades. But XCG, they're definitely looking to try and get this Morris Blessing, but they are immediately pressured off of it by TE. And XCG, speaking of not being very scaled, they all have blue armor. They do have decent weapons, you know, purple weapons, and it's not too bad. It looks as though they might be able to sneak it away here. They get that Wuchen F3. Kakaishi takes a little bit of damage, but he's still all right. He's not dead yet, but it looks as though they may have just opened some of it for them. It looks as though that might be the case, and there it is. LYD coming in and picking up that gold armor. Nice Q. He's like, okay, you have the gold one. We'll take the purple. Thank you. Nice trade. Stonks, you know, very happy with that one.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Yeah, exactly. I think TE is probably quite happy with that one, although they haven't picked up all that many kills. Getting a gold armor on one of your players, especially your Viper, who can come under a lot of fire, is definitely a very good pickup. Bowder under fire here, though. Yeran losing all of his armor. Peak losing the majority of his health. He's on the blue armor as well. It's not where you want to be in a similarly unscaled position. However, speaking of being scaled, Godley and co, JJH, they've got 2 purple armors. They've got a gold pulse sword, I think that was, on the Yueshan. He's going to be doing a lot of damage if he's able to find those slams. JDG, Kiki with the gold spear on that Justina could be devastating as well. But in this point in the game, we're kind of just waiting for the zone to move. The zone is starting to close in. All of these teams are trying to find a little bit of room to move, a little room to breathe, a little bit of real estate to call home, you know, just to settle down and to get those cannons out.
Well, with the Immortal War changes too, right? Zone 4 collapsing onto Zone 5 is going to happen very quickly, which means the last and final Bane Breath is about to come out. You do not want to overcommit to any sort of engagement right now and then find yourself in the middle of that Bane's Breath as it comes down, because that can mean the end of your game. And we've seen the major adjustments by all of these teams heading into Zone 4 and 5, where as soon as the Bane is gone, they are willing to commit to a fight, but as soon as the next zone starts collapsing, everybody sort of starts to back away and starts to look to play that ranged poke game, go ahead and get their ultimates back online and find a decent positioning so that if they need to move quickly when the Bane comes in, they can. This is an adjustment we've seen the teams immediately start to make, and there it is, the Bane that we were talking about going to come in as soon as that Morris Blessing is just about in. We will see the Morris come down. It is right on the edge of the Bane, so it's going to be very risky, but it looks like Team TE wants to collapse in and try to get their hands on it this time.
Indeed. Definitely would be nice for them. But speaking of the Moonbane changes, you know how I'm not a fan. We had this discussion in China. We talked about it at length. How the Moonbanes, the natural Moonbanes, the AI Moonbanes, the ones that get dropped down by the game itself that nobody can buy, just inherently feel like a somewhat, you know, it doesn't feel good. You know, as a player, and to some extent as a viewer as well, almost. I think that we've seen time and time again recently that the Moonbane that drops around this time during the game actually ends up slowing down the game's progression and the fights and all of that sort of stuff. So as opposed to being a catalyst for more action, it inherently slows down the game and ends up being the complete opposite. And although we all love seeing these stacked endgames with a lot of people in them, it creates this very slow-moving period, which can, like, if you're in this game and if you're in the lobby and you're trying to maneuver around this, if you just get unlucky and you get caught in an unfortunate rotation around the Moonbane, then you're dead. And it's just like, okay, cool, RNG Jesus did not bless us today. You know, it's just like, at that point, it just feels bad. You know, it's just rough. Like, it doesn't feel like a good situation to be in as a player in any way. But I think that the whole idea of an environmental factor affecting the game is a good thing. I think that that's a cool idea. However, I think Moonbane, like, it should either not be Moonbane in a potentially a more extreme weather effect, or Moonbane adjustments so that it's easier to dodge, easier to surf through, etc. Regardless, we're back. Let's get back to the fighting. 5-2-1 is taking a lot of fire here. Pampy, he's very, very low, and that flame breath is doing work.
Oh,
and it looks as though the poison, the barb bolts and what's it called again? Venom Tip. That was it. I haven't used that Jade in forever. Venom Tip doing work there onto that Farrier ultimate. We've got the Transformers here, though. Godley, he's throwing hands. He's trying to find those grabs across the map. A pretty decent spot for him to be in as well. This is quite a nice open space for him to look and find those grabs. However, on the other hand, it's a double-edged sword, as all of these teams can turn and shoot him, and they can always see the grabs coming. You know, if there's a lot of clutter, it's hard to see the grabs coming at times. But speaking of clutter, Yaran's stuck in the middle of it. He has to grapple up, and he's managed to keep himself alive for the moment. The same cannot be said for 17S, however. JDG Kiki trying to find some value with that Justina ultimate, with that gold spear out on the ice. Very fitting for the Justina to have found home here. EWG lurking in the bottom left with that ultimate low ground. They do have that Overcomer Jade with that gold pulse sword, I think it was, able to secure themselves some nice positioning. JH Flames trying to find value from that Yuashan ultimate now, immediately coming out, immediately getting knocked down into the zone. Gold pulse sword or not, he will be taken down if his health reaches 0. The Phoenix Blast knocking him off the high ground for the moment. The Tessa ultimate coming through, now forcing them down to the low ground. Are they going to be are they going to be punished for this? The F1 coming out. Does he find the parry? No, he doesn't read the release, and he just gets slammed by that pulse sword RMB.
Yeah, just absolutely disappears. EWG here, by the way, with our favorite pony, Soul Jade, in the final circle, buying themselves just a little bit of space here, riding it out like it's the Wild Wild West. JDG here coming in. JJH Godly just barely gets the transformation off in time, but he is the last remaining member of his team, and there are so many wind walls coming out.
Ooh, the double grab!
Oh, he does find a double grab, though. He's able to get an elimination against all odds. He comes in. He's got Kakaishi. Just go for the slam. No, Kakaishi might get away with the freeze. No, he's able to get it out just in time. Godly finds 2. Oh, my goodness. We saw so many of the Wu Chen Fs come out to block the hands from coming in, but the man still manages to find 2 on the double grab, capitalizes on not 1 but 2 eliminations. JDG's PP here hitting it out on
the damage
on here, just doing so much damage. Coming in, JDG control of everything here with the legendary pull. Oh my goodness, the spear! What a massive parry, like you said, into the big boy bonk. They missed the uppercut here. The Temmie trying to stay alive, but it doesn't matter. He finds the grapple back into the uppercut. CXZ topside just going, I'm chilling up here. I ain't got nothing to do with this. JDG, you can have the members of EWG, but Godly gets set flying as well. JDG just completely takes control. They have dropped the 20 bomb, ladies and gentlemen. It is official. JDG, nobody could ever potentially take this MVP away from him. They go to 21. CXZ super low. They're gonna pick it up. They go to 22 eliminations and a first place finish. JDG desperately needed this game to